In this video, I'm going to explain the concept of a J-curve and how that applies to budgeting or ad spend for direct response digital marketing. And I bring this up because I see a lot of people really taking the wrong approach to budgeting for their ad spend. This usually comes up or is brought up in the form of a question: what should my daily budget be? Should I be spending $20 a day, $30 a day, $40 a day, $50 a day, etc.? And that is really the wrong approach, and that is very, very, very far-fetched from the approach that I take when I am planning for or budgeting for ad spend. All right, and I spend a lot of money on ad spend, well into the seven figures every year on ads. Been doing that for several years, largely as a performance marketer or affiliate marketer, and also for businesses that I own. Okay, so I'm going to share my approach, the J-curve concept here, and really my approach to ad spend. Heads up real quick, before we get any further into it, into all this good stuff, I've got two asks. Number one, if you find this video helpful or insightful, you know the drill. Smash that like button to help me out in the YouTube algorithm. And number two, if you like learning from real-world funnels, you're going to want to check out my We Study Funnels newsletter. It's a daily newsletter where I send out breakdowns of live funnels that I find either interesting or funnels that are being ran apparently successful, that look like they're doing quite well. And I break those funnels down along with the takeaways, what we can learn from those funnels to apply to our own marketing. I'll put the link below, so after you smash that like button for me, you can head on over to westudyfunnels.com. I'll put the link below. Click it, go, you know how a link works, right? Click it, go to the link, and sign up here for this newsletter. Now let's get back to it. All right, so let's start with the J-curve. Now, the J-curve concept is fundamentally a concept in the business world. It's commonly used in private equity or mergers and acquisitions to illustrate how much money needs to be spent and then ultimately what the reward or return will be. So J-curve, as the name implies, is shaped like a J here, right? Whereas you start out, you start spending money and you're losing in profitability, going negative, and then you start to turn things around. And then once it takes off, it really, clicked the wrong button on my mouse. It really takes off and goes like this. And commonly, the starting point is essentially break even. And let's see if I can change that in color to make it look a little bit more better. Nope, that didn't work out too well. All right, so there's, like our break even line right there. And then the y-axis on the graph is profitability. The x-axis on the graph is time. So time, profitability. Make it a little bit better, bigger, so it's easier to see profitability and time. So, what we can see is that as time goes on, money is spent, and then things turned around, and then it starts becoming really, really profitable. This is also reflective of the metaphor you might hear, and that is you got to spend money to make money, right? In this scenario, someone is spending money to make money, right? And like I said, this is often applied in the private equity world where somebody's going to buy a business or invest in a business and improve, let's just say, improve the factory and efficiency. They're going to spend money and then things get better. Well, in the advertising world, the direct response marketing world, the spending of money is spending money to figure out what ads work, spending money to find that audience offer match, and then spending money to drive conversions such that you get enough conversions that the algorithm, the advertising algorithm, whether it's Google or Facebook, Pinterest to a lesser degree, YouTube, which subsequently falls into that Google umbrella, Reddit, etc., such that the algorithm gets enough conversions that it can begin to optimize and find more conversions. And this is something that I really think a lot of people overlook, right? Like you hear about the learning phase on Facebook ads and on Google ads, and most advertisers never spend enough money to get out of that learning phase. But it is very, very powerful. The algorithm becomes very powerful once you actually get a good sample size of conversions. All right. So you have to get the conversions before the algorithm really gets enough data to do anything. And you have to consider that this algorithm on either Google Meta or whatever platform you're advertising on is going to be using hundreds of different data points. I think at least 100. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but they're using a lot of data points, more than, what we can individually comprehend with our brain. There's a lot of data points in there. So therefore, you have to feed a lot of data into it to do anything. So when you have an ad set or a campaign that's running and it's only gotten a few conversions, the algorithm really can't do anything. So you never really see the power, and many advertisers never really see the power of that. So let's just kind of go back a step here to the beginning of the J-curve, right? The beginning of the J-curve is where you have to start spending money to find the audience offer match and then really get the conversions. Okay, and it's not until you've done that that you're going to come around here and start swinging on the upside. So when I am budgeting for a new campaign, a new offer fundamentally, I am not thinking about how much am I going to spend every day. I am thinking how much money do I have to spend until I get to the inflection point. Now, the inflection point admittedly may not come. Like, I may be wrong. I may have just a bad offer. I may not find any success with it. And then that's also subsequently the point where I throw in the towel. All right. So when I'm thinking about launching a new campaign, my thought is not what is my daily budget? It is how much money do I have to spend to find that audience and offer match and then get to an inflection point where things start becoming scalable. Now, what is my inflection point going to be? And that is typically, and when I say scalable, I mean reaching a point of profitability that has the ability to go up infinitely with my ad spend. And that is where I am getting, conversions at my profitability goal. Okay. And my profitability goal is really a key aspect, and that is where I start my budgeting and my planning for everything way back here at the beginning of, I don't want to say time, but at the start of everything, right? Before I start spending money. Because again, I don't look at this and go, what do I need to spend day by day? I look at this and say, okay, if I can reach this inflection point, conversions at my profitability goal, if I can reach that point, then I can spend unlimited money behind it to get it to wherever it needs to be. Or we could express this in other ways and say, my daily budget is infinity if I'm getting conversions at my profitability goal. All right, so let's just put an example in here. Let's just say that I've got a e-com product, that retails for $100, okay? And then my cost of goods to fulfill it, including my risk of warranties or defect, and I'm trying to figure out how to copy this, but I guess I'll just do another text. Let's just say my COGS, full COGS, right? Because you can break this out, and some people say, well, you got to account for refunds and all. Let's just say that after I account for refunds, my full COGS is $40 or $60, right? And then my GP, gross profit, is $40. And let's assume my merchant processing fees is up here in the COGS. So after somebody buys it, and considering for return or cancellation or something like that, refunds, my gross profit here is going to be $40 on average for one of these things that I sell. Well, theoretically, I can spend, I theoretically would spend $39 to get a customer, right? If all of my expenses are included, and I can spend $39 to acquire a $40 ticket, right? Or I can put in 39 to get back 40. I'm going to do that. Now, that is theoretical because we obviously want to earn more margin and make more money. So let's just say that we're going to, try to achieve a 15% margin in the business. So, or we want to, that's our target margin. So at that point, we can spend $25 to get a customer because then we'll have $15 left over. All right. So this is what I'm doing at the very beginning of the process. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, hey, $25 to get a customer. Do I think that I can actually make that happen based on my intuition on the market, the demand for similar products, how innovative is the product, right? Like what is the competing market? What are the competitors in the market doing? Can I get that? That's where I'm first looking at things. But now, if I believe I can get to this and I can get to this $25 to get a customer, the inflection point here, then my budget is literally infinity. And maybe not quite literally infinity, but how I would run this is I would run this with a target CPA on, Google or Meta or whatever the platform is, or they may call it different things, but I would set a target cost at $25 and I would set my budget to $9,999 a day. That's what I like doing. You could set it to $10,000, but whatever, it's going to be far higher than the campaign would realistically spend at that target. But if it spent all of that $10,000 a day, I would be ecstatic because I'm achieving $15 of profitability with every order that, comes through the system. And if we math that out, if we just did $10,000 divided by, if we did $10,000 divided by 25, that's how many orders we get, 400, I'd be making $6,000 a day. Like that is pretty freaking awesome at this rate. Okay, so that is where my starting point is right here. I want to figure out this, right? And what is it going to look like if we can get to this inflection point? Because then the scale or the ad spend is infinite to try and achieve this scale. Now, we might not, get quite a sharp line up. It might be a little slower if the campaign is only going to get, say, 10 conversions a day at this amount. But still, at that point, I can just leave it on and the campaign's going to run. Okay, so let's shift back here to the beginning of the J-curve, right? Or let's move further down the J-curve. We're kind of going back and forth between the beginning and the end. What am I doing at this point? Well, at this point, I'm going to take a look at this here and I'm going to say, okay, we need to get to this inflection point. We really need to get to 100 conversions. Okay, that's great. How do we put some numbers behind this 100 conversion? Well, the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of put what is fundamentally a testing stop loss, okay? And that might be that I'm going to take a look at this here and I'm going to say we need to get one conversion, the first conversion, within 5 to 10 times the amount of this target that we need to reach. And this really is something that's going to be intuition based on the market. If I'm going into a market that I'm very familiar with, then it needs to be 5 times. If it's something where I'm going to have to do some figuring out here and I might not get it right on the first time, then, we're going to need to plan for a little bit more. So let's just say I don't know the market here. I'm going to start planning to spend $250 for each test of an offer that I'm going to do, or each audience offer fit, because, we got to remember the formula here. That is, your ad success is a function of the audience plus offer plus creative. Now, I would typically say that the creative is only worth like 10%, but in a lot of, direct response marketing literature, you'll see this expressed as 40% audience, 40% offer, 20% creative. I say creative is only 10%. But at this point here, I'm going to be testing ways to package the offer for the audience and planning to spend 10 times $25, so $250. And when I'm just starting out, I will map it out. I'll literally list out all of my audience and offers. And I'm making them pretty radical. And I'm going to start with what I think is the best. So if something doesn't work, if I spend $250 on one audience and offer, I'm not going to just change the creative a little bit. I'm going to go back to, kind of the drawing board here and make a big shift in usually my audience. Because sometimes I cannot repackage the offer in another way. Now, if you own the product, you can repackage the offer. So fundamentally, let's say you own a bottle cleaning product, okay? You can repackage that offer as being something that makes sports nutrition bottles smell less, or you can make it an offer for something that makes it easier and faster to clean the bottle. Do you get what I'm saying there? Maybe that's not the best example, but fundamentally, in a product might have different value props, and your offer is the value prop, and one audience cares about it. So in the bottle example, right, the offer, if it's to make your sports nutrition bottle, like what you're mixing protein shakes in, and I use this example because I mix protein shakes, the bottles smell, they start smelling if they don't get cleaned, right? So if like you're just like me and you're rinsing them out, they start smelling after like 2 uses. Not a very good look, even though I still drink from them and a lot of people still do, but that's a pain point. And this might be a great market to get into. I've thought about it, but I don't have a solution for it. I don't have the product. Anyways, take that idea, run with it. If you make $1 million, let me know in the comments. But that offer is going to be for an audience of people that are weightlifters that are likely to be drinking the sports nutrition. I need a drink here. Right? You can repackage that product as an offer for, maybe moms or wives that have to clean the dishes and don't like smelling these disgusting protein bottles, or maybe just for somebody that wants to do a better job of cleaning their cups at home. So then you got 3 different offers to 3 different audiences. You could have the same offer to different audiences. You could take the sports nutrition bottle and do it for weightlifters. You could do it for runners because they also drink protein and other sports-related beverages. You could do it for cyclists, right? So you can kind of do that. But ultimately here, I'm going to try and figure out from the get-go how many of these audiences and offers I want to test at my 25 times 10. And that's where I'm going to start running things. And ultimately, we need to get that first conversion within the 10x of our target. If we don't get it, in my experience, the campaign will simply never be able to reach this inflection point of scalability. And that is very big. So let's just say I come up with 6 offers. Well, I'm going to go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at this point here. And mind you, this chart's really not to scale, but I've spent 6 times $250. Let's just say that my final run works. So I've spent $1,500. Okay. And at this point, and I'll probably be running these all simultaneously. At this point, I'm deciding, hey, Do we keep running this to focus on getting our 100 conversions, or was this just a waste? Sometimes I start these and I run it, and it is just a waste. Now, how much should you be spending daily at this point? Well, my best approach to this, and what I found is working most practical, is you figure, all right, you can spend up to 10x that target to get one conversion. So I'm going to divide that by 7 and make that my daily budget. So for one audience offer fit, I'm just going to do 250 divided by, I think it'll be 22.5, but 250 divided by 7, $35. I'm going to, set my budget. I like to be aggressive, so I'm going to round that up and go 36. I'm going to set my budget at $36 a day for each one of these, and I may be running all 6 of them simultaneously. I'm going to check back in a week. I will be $1,500. I'm expecting to be $1,500 in the negative. All right, if we have one audience offer fit that got a conversion, that's the one I'm really going to be focusing on. Hopefully, we got more. Now, some people may go more conservative, and they may just start with the most promising, or what they think intuitively is the strongest audience offer fit. And just go, 1 week. But I'm going to be more aggressive with it here and get all of them. If we don't have any that have kind of ran my audience offer things down here, my audience and offer concepts that have reached one conversion, that have gotten it, I'm pretty much going to call it a wrap on that. Only if I have a major shift in creative, but it's pretty rare. I'm pretty good at coming up with creative, or at least establishing the basic fundamentals here, and you don't really need to be a rocket scientist with creative. So it's pretty rare that I'm going to come up with another creative that's going to do better. Usually I will not do anything, but at this point we need to have gotten one. And then from there, once we get the one and we know which one it's going to be, at that point, I will start making some new creatives. I may even invest money into, some nice video professional content creatives, UGC style stuff, or professional video, some higher quality stuff, but you don't necessarily know that that's going to work. I will say that. There have been plenty, and actually more so than there have not been, there have been scenarios where my simple image ad that is the first thing I ran does better than anything that I splurge on money. But at this point here, I'm probably going to spend a little bit of money on creative. All right, so let's just say 500, maybe conservative, but let's just say I'm going to spend $700, to kind of get my creative in line at this point. And then from there, I'm just going to start turning up the budget, right? So at this point, we were running the budget at $36 a day for our ad sets. At that point, I'm probably going to go to $100 a day. And then I'm probably just going to keep increasing at 20% day by day by day, as we get these conversions coming in. And then at this point here, I'm going to wait until we get about 50 conversions. Now, at this point, I'm still going to be losing money here. And we may need to redraw this J curve here, make it a little deeper, right? It doesn't flatten out quite like this. So let's just say this is the real J curve here, and we'll try to erase, not highlight. I'll try to erase. No, I don't want to do that either. Can't do that. Okay, if you're following along here, just know that little middle part of the J curve doesn't really exist anymore, right? We're going down deeper in the J. At this point, though, I am going to be probably pushing it to get 50 conversions, right? Increasing the budget just to get 50 conversions. And at this point here, we should start seeing it come down from the 250, but we need to see where it's settling roughly. And that could be a lot of money, right? And so typically I'll wait until we get about 50 conversions, and then I'll look at the last 10. And at that point, we need to be seeing the last 10 of 50 getting pretty close to this $25 point right here. And if they're not close at all, okay, so let's just say that we get down here and our cost per conversion is $50. I don't know. Maybe it's more. Maybe it's 60. And we'll just go 50, at $60. Let's just try and illustrate this whole thing out. If it's at this $60, and this is actually kind of a tricky one here because it's not really, I don't. This is where you kind of have to start using your intuition, I guess. Here, right? This is where it becomes an art here, not literally a science. At this point, I might just put a target on it at $25 and then increase the budget and see what happens. And either it's going to stick or it's not. At this point, it'll probably go to zero for a couple days, and over a couple days, after like a couple days, it might start running and picking some up. If the numbers are different though, and it's at like $35, and I'm just going to keep increasing the budget here, letting it get more of a sample size until we get to 100, and then I'll put my $25 on it. But really all I'm doing at this point here is nothing. I'm literally just spending money to let the algorithm get conversions. I'm not duplicating shit. I am not creating more ads. I am not testing different audiences. And mind you, my audiences back here will be quite broad. I'm just letting it spend money until we get the conversions, and then I can put my target CPA on it. So at this point, if we get to, this level here, if I've got 50 conversions at $60 to get to that, that's $3,000. I've spent $4,500 on this campaign, and I've gotten technically 50 conversions. Right here. Now, I would be looking at the last 10. I know I kind of put this in here as 50, but I'd particularly be looking at the last 10 conversions that I got, not the first through 40th conversions, because the algorithm gets better as it learns. And this is also going to not be static day by day. You're not going to be getting a conversion every day. Some days you might get no conversions, then you get 10 conversions, and then you go back to getting 0 conversions for a day or two, and you're like, oh my God, my world's ending, right? No, just got to keep letting it go. You really got to hit 50. If you can hit 100 conversions with maximized conversions, right, and then set your target here, you're pretty much, you're going to have a nice rise out of this. But at this point, I've spent $4,500. I've only made 50 times 15, so I'm still in negative $3,900 here, roughly. But then you set the target on it here and just let it go at that point. Like literally just forget about it. Once you set your target, let it go. And what you'll find is if you go from 60 and set a $25 target, it's probably going to go, and grind to a halt, but then it'll start running again after about a week or so and probably start picking up some conversions. Some cases, it might just grind to a halt and you have effectively a $3,900 loss. But when you have a winner, like when this hits, like when you find the good audience offer match at an economical point and you get to your 50 conversions, and let's just say you're at 35, you let it run to 100, it gets down to 25, and boom, you hit that target CPA, you put a target on it, and you hit this, you have massive fucking scale. Like it is literally like printing money at this point. It is a very, very cool feeling. But you don't hit that on everyone. I don't hit that on everyone. I'm pretty good because I've been doing it at a while, but I would say my hit rate is maybe 25%. 25% of the products, offers, whatever that I intend to promote, do I actually make my hit rate down here. But when I have a winner, it is literally like a rocket ship up, and this typically lasts for years. I don't change things. I don't duplicate anything. And in this case, because I'm at a point of profitability, my budget in theory is infinite, and I just let it spend. I don't have a daily budget. My daily budget is high enough that with my target CPA, I will never reach that daily budget, and my target CPA is set at a level of profitability here. But I think the big thing, and there's two big things here really to take away from this, is number one, you have to establish where you want to get to, right? Like what number do you want to get to or need to get to establish profitability such that your budget is infinite, Okay, and this is disregarding the cost of capital and the availability of capital. But well, if you're running e-commerce style, you're getting paid. So you're getting paid and the money hits your Stripe or whatever merchant account and then your bank account, right? So you only have 4 days of float there from the time that the transaction happens to, and you spend your ads to the time that the money gets back. Maybe considering there's variability and there's good days and bad days, maybe you need 7 days of float. That's not, not that huge in the grand scheme of things. With affiliate or performance marketing products, for example, I have some deals that I run that are effectively paid out on 90-day terms. They're paid out basically 45 from the end of the month, but sometimes things take longer. Basically, I can run into scenarios where I spend my ad spend and I have to wait 90 days to get paid. Like as of now, I still have some clients that have not paid me from November. So my November 1st ad spend to December 1st, January 1st, we're almost at February 1st. It'll be about 90 days until I get paid for that. And then in that case, capital becomes a problem. But that's fundamentally outside the scope of this video here. Or assuming that you have access to capital, assuming you reach a level of profitability. Anyways, where was I going with this? That's a whole nother tangent here. Two things. Number one, you need to have the target and where you want to go. And then you also have to know that you're not going to reach that target every time. So you have to be expecting to not reach that target every time, but knowing that, say in my case, 1 out of 4 times you do, and then you really have a good you have a good future ahead of you. You have a lot of profitability coming in. And fundamentally here, or technically speaking, most advertisers don't look at this. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to spend $30 a day on ads and see what I get. No, your approach needs to be, what is my target to profitability going to be? What is my profitability target going to be? Where am I profitable at? And how much money am I going to spend testing to reach that target ability? Or how much money am I going to spend testing to reach that target? In this case here, looking at this example here, I would have spent $5,000 testing to reach that point. Okay. And it's hard to quantify exactly how much you're going to need to spend. Obviously, the 10x, your target is the kind of initial point, and that's your initial stop loss. If you don't reach it, you cut it. But going deeper than that, it's really kind of a rule of heuristics. And, we can look at it here. If we say 10x was 10x, $250 is what I was going to be going for here. Maybe 50x. What would 250 or what would 4,500 divided by 250 be? That'd be 18. Oh, so surprisingly, that actually wasn't that much more than your initial target. But just say 20 times your initial target is where you need to be willing to risk on the testing phase to figure out if this is even gonna work. I know a lot of people want a literal answer of like, hey, you spend this much and it works, but you don't have that when you are testing marketing. You have to look at it as, hey, I'm firing a bullet. Once I hit a winner, boom, I am bringing out the cannon. How much money do I have to spend to find the winner? On that note, guys, this video went way longer than I thought it would, but I hope it shed a lot of light for you on the concept of a J-curve and how you need to budget your ad spend when it comes to particularly direct response digital marketing, although broadly speaking, this applies to any form of marketing. On that note, if you found this video helpful and insightful, you know the drill. Smash that like button to help me out in the YouTube algorithm, and hit the subscribe button to get all of my latest videos. I've got a lot more up my sleeve on digital marketing topics like this. I'm calling it a wrap and signing off.